St. Philip Neri was born in Florence, frequented the Church of St. Mark, and was influenced by the interesting Savonarola, a puzzling Dominican who was actually burnt at the stake, but who was not without interest as a personality. Eventually, St. Philip Neri was sent to actually work in the whole element of commerce, down to a casino where he became influenced by Benedictine spirituality. He came to Rome for a while, studied at the Sapienza University, but opted to work to recuperate the marginalized, the wayward youth. And he regrouped them in sessions of both holy fun and also beauty. He would play with them, but also give them teaching. They would sing well together, and this was attractive. Why should the devil have the best music, they would say, during the times of the revivals in Britain. He knew actually how to use and harness the best of what was out there. Later on, he'll make use of the likes of Palestrina, and that element will carry on in the congregation that eventually will come out of this block of youth coming together, the oratory. For in the great houses of the oratory, there is a high tone of praise and beauty. Indeed, the Brompton Oratory has one of the finest choirs in Britain, a school of young boys. They really produce magnificent beauty. And the church also holds it well, a gem. It was unexpected that Newman entered the oratory, formed it and brought it to England. One would have thought that he would have perhaps found his vocation with the Benedictines or the Dominicans or the Jesuits, but someone whispered in his ear, "Think of the Oratorians," and indeed it did capture a spirit that was his, in Oxfordian mode of course, but nevertheless the Sola caritas, which is that spirit of St. Philip and of the oratory to this day, did come through. And Newman, in his own modalities, was a man of kindness and charity. They live together, and hence the bonding between the oratories is fairly loose, but they do make this engagement of stability, life stability, to one house, so it is a real family, each local community. He was advised by a good priest to seek ordination, which he obtained at the age of 36, and that would lead to his great ministry in the confessional. He knew the great figures of the time who would be coming and going. At the height of the Counter-Reformation here, St. Charles Borromeo would seek him out when he came to Rome, because there was joy emanating from him. He knew Pope Paul IV, St. Pius V, Gregory XIII, Gregory XIV, and Clement VIII. He knew St. Ignatius Loyola, Francis de Sales, Camillus de Lelis, Felix of Cantalice. And He himself declined all ecclesiastical honours. He wanted to be with the youth, and he became known as the Apostle of Rome. He was, for a while, in the church of San Girolamo, which is nearly opposite the English college, and when the young priests were leaving the college to return to the mission in England, he would come out of his church, kneel before them, kiss their feet, and say, with the opening words of the hymn of the Holy Innocents, Salvete flores martyrum, hail flowers of martyrs. They were going, they knew full well, to martyrdom, torture and rack, and the Tyburn tree. He was given the church of St. Maria of Vallicella for the headquarters, but he himself decided to build a church, and it's still called the New Church to this day, La Chiesa Nuova. He started this project in 1578, and his body is there on the left. I've celebrated Holy Mass on that altar where his body is, and also in the chapel where he would celebrate quietly on his own with one server in the old house of the oratory to the left of the church, attached to the church. And he would go into ecstasy there, and the server would go away and then come back an hour or two later when he was coming to. The mystical side is sometimes forgotten. Indeed, he wanted to conceal it. He would try to avoid going into ecstasy and levitation, it seems, by taking a book of jokes, but didn't always work. Off he would go. Indeed, his heart nearly burst, and after his death it was found to be larger than it should be. There was a picture of him with his heart in our house in Rome. The great St. Philip was a man of love, and that love was both vertical and horizontal. The advantage of a simplicity of spirituality is that one makes an examination of conscience on the essential. If liturgy is the centre of its own attention, and to maintain it charity goes through the window, then we have lost that simplicity of vision, and the dynamic has been waylaid. If there is love, both vertical and horizontal, there will be a perfect blend of beauty and peace. People will not get upset when honouring God, for the angels do not upset each other, and neither should we. But as the angels only give the best in the Hagios, 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 which they sing day and night, so too must we. We do well to ponder on these things, lest we allow God to be short-changed, and our brethren also. Not long after ordination, I was able to celebrate there at that altar where he would go into ecstasy, where he would celebrate for 2 hours. And it hit me. There is time on earth to do well what does not pertain to the earth. Here, even here, Latin Mass, it's in Philip Neri's private chapel. Is this the place where ecstasy would be, a little off the ground? Is this where stood on thinnest air, one given eyes to see, beyond the veil that shields this flesh and blood. O Philip, is it true that thou wouldst come and linger for a lengthy while at this strange task, ne'er given to angels, but to some, and only some, that bear this mark of bliss? O Lamb of God, here slain upon a word, teach me to wait a while where some have been alone with thee before, where some have heard, and seen what was not seen by common eye. For I have time to stand a little longer on this strangest